So South Africa has been hit by a storm of political fireworks, and so today we're going to be pulling them all together. First, a landmark expropriation case that could redefine property rights across the country. In Joburg, a political Game of Thrones is unfolding in front of our very eyes. And in KZN, that inquiry into SAPS is dropping bombshells by the hour. My friends, best you buckle up. And look, if you're enjoying the show, be sure to like and subscribe. And now, with all that out the way, let's get into it. So one of South Africa's most high-stakes property battles is about to hit the courts. You see, back in 2019, local government expropriated a 34-hectare Driefontein property, reportedly valued at roughly 30 million rand. And they offered the owners exactly zero compensation. So the owners, a company called BVI 900, says that they were preparing township development plans and that the state can't simply dump its housing bill on one private firm. So business lobby group Sarklige calls this a test case designed to push the boundaries of expropriation without compensation, warning that if it stands, it could tank property values, spook investors, and encourage land grabs. So government insists that it acted lawfully, that the land had been vacant for decades, held for speculation, and with a housing backlog of reportedly more than 427,000 units, government says that public need outweighs private profit. Officials say that it will be used for social housing, giving effect to constitutional rights. And so here's why this matters now. You see, earlier this year, President Ramaphosa signed the new Expropriation Act, which explicitly allows nil compensation in certain cases. So that means that this Driefontein dispute, heading to mediation in October and trial next February, has become the test case that everyone is watching. The DA has just played its biggest card in Johannesburg. Helen Zille is back, and this time as the party's mayor candidate. You see, at 74, she's no newcomer to South African politics. She turned Cape Town into a DA stronghold and ran the Western Cape for 2 terms. But now, in saying that, she also comes with baggage, polarizing views, and a public persona that divides opinion as much as it draws support. So her candidacy lands at a moment when ANC fortunes in Johannesburg are already sinking. Years of water shortages, blackouts, and collapsing infrastructure have fueled voter frustration. And furthermore, in leaked internal polls, the DA now leads the ANC 37 to 31% in the country's economic hub. And then came the presidential own goal. Just days before Zille's unveiling, Cyril Ramaphosa told ANC councillors that DA-run municipalities often outperform their ANC counterparts, effectively handing the DA a campaign slogan on a silver platter. As one analyst said, it was the greatest political assist of the season. So yeah, look, the timing couldn't be more perfect for the DA, but whether voters want Gogo Helen back in the mayor's office is another story altogether. The KZN's police commissioner has just detonated another political bombshell. You see, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi took the stand this week at the Madlanga Commission, which is this inquiry that was set up after his explosive July press conference, where he accused senior politicians and top cops of sabotaging murder investigations. So at the heart of it is this Political Killings Task Team, which is this specialized unit that cracks some of South Africa's highest profile cases. Now, according to Mkhwanazi, the team was abruptly disbanded on the 31st of December last year by our police minister, just days after it linked seized firearms to a string of political assassinations. Now, he says that the police minister acted under pressure from criminal networks and that 121 active case files were yanked from investigators until they were quietly and suspiciously returned months later. So Mkhwanazi didn't stop there. He testified that investigators were offered bribes by senior police officials not to oppose bail, that ballistic reports were deliberately withheld, and that a 360 million rand tender tycoon facing attempted murder charges may have influenced the minister's decisions. The Commission Chair Justice Madlanga warned that if these claims proved true, it would strike the foundation of justice itself, because once criminals can bend police work, ordinary South Africans can't rely on the system to protect them. Now, either way, the inquiry resumes on Monday with more witnesses expected to be called. And before we cruise on to our Bagel Bite of the day, here's a couple other headlines worth knowing. For starters, more than 3,900 Uber and Bolt cars have been impounded in Cape Town this year for lacking operating licenses, with the new upcoming regulations threatening fines for the platforms themselves. Drivers now risk both removal from apps and heavy penalties. The Reserve Bank held the repo rate at 7% this week, keeping prime at 10.5%. The governor noted that inflation is easing but not yet stable enough for cuts, leaving borrowers without immediate relief. And the EFF has expelled 34 members who staged a walkout at a Free State Assembly over disputed leadership elections. Party leaders called it a serious breach of discipline, pressing ahead with restructuring grassroots structures despite the backlash. And on to our Bagel Bite of the day. Let's see what you got. The question is, which is the only country to have played in every FIFA World Cup since 1930? Is it A, Argentina, B, Brazil, or C, England? Bonus points if you know how many World Cups they have won. And on to our wildcard section. In 2003, a calf named Footy took her first steps on a farm in Brits Northwest. Now, at first glance, she looked like any Holstein heifer, but Footy carried a secret. She wasn't the product of ordinary breeding. She was Africa's first cloned animal. So scientists had taken a single cell from the ear of a record-breaking dairy cow that produced 78 liters of milk a day. They transplanted its nucleus into an egg cell, implanted the embryo into a surrogate, and months later, Footy was born, genetically identical to the champion cow. Now, cloning doesn't mean an instant herd of super cows. The process is tricky, survival rates are low, and it's expensive. But for Footy, we proved that it could be done right here within our borders. And for farmers, the idea is pretty tantalizing, a way to copy the best genetics in the herd. Either way, from that single birth, South Africa joined the short list of countries, proving that they could clone life itself. And as for that Bagel Bite, the answer is Brazil, the only nation to appear at every World Cup since the very first one in 1930. And they haven't just been ever present, they've been dominant, holding the record with 5 titles between 1958 and 2002. And look, that's a span of success stretching across generations from Pele's era to Ronaldo's. And my friends, that's it for today's show. Thanks so much for tuning in. So I've got good news and great news for you. The good news is it's a short week, so let's work towards that public holiday on Wednesday. The great news is I'll be seeing you tomorrow for the next round of the good stuff. Take care, be kind to one another, and I'll catch you guys all then. Cheers.